Hello everyone, welcome back to Mr. English Talks. Today I want to share something tender, simple and true. My first love story in English. This is a story about nervous smiles, wrong words that meant everything, small brave moments, and the quiet lessons that stayed long after the romance changed shape. I will tell you the scene, the feelings, the mistakes, and the tiny habits that helped me grow. The language is simple so every English learner can follow, and the tone is warm, honest, and hopeful, like a friend who remembers their first flutter and wants you to feel the magic and learn from it. I remember the place clearly. A small college courtyard with trees that threw long shadows in the late afternoon. The air smelled like rain and books. I had joined an English conversation club to practice, not because I expected anything else. I wanted to improve my speaking, to become confident, to stop being afraid of making mistakes in front of others. There she was, sitting under a mango tree, laughing at something someone said. Something about her laugh cut through the noise. That first moment felt like a small electric current, simple and sudden. I did not know then that this curiosity would turn into my first love. At first, I looked for reasons to speak English. The club gave me those reasons. I practiced greetings, short stories, and small questions. I rehearsed with my notebook. Hello, how are you? What do you like? Where are you from? These phrases felt a little heavy and formal, but they saved me from silence. On the day I saw her, I walked up with a practiced line and then forgot it completely. My heart made my mouth clumsy. I said something simple and awkward, and she smiled like the world had given permission for mistakes. That smile was kinder than any correct sentence. The early days were full of small, honest errors that became the best stories later. Once I tried to tell a joke in English and completely mangled the punchline. Everyone paused, and for a second I wanted to disappear. Then she laughed louder than anyone else, not because the joke was perfect, but because the attempt felt genuine. That laugh gave me courage. Another time I used the wrong word for bitter and said something like, "Your coffee is angry," and she giggled, correcting me gently. Those errors taught me a soft lesson. When you try from the heart, people often lean in rather than push away. We spent time walking through the campus, practicing simple conversations. We spoke about music, about films, about the silly things that make people feel less afraid. I learned one important trick: ask more than you tell. Asking showed interest and gave me time to form sentences. She loved stories about small childhood adventures, and whenever I listened, I learned not only her words but also how she used English. Short sentences, clear feelings, and a rhythm that matched her laugh. Listening became my fastest teacher. As we spent more afternoons together, my English improved because I felt safe making mistakes with her. There is a special power in practicing with someone who forgives noise and celebrates tries. I started writing small notes, lines of poetry and awkward metaphors, and she would read them slowly, offering a word suggestion or a better image. She never corrected me like a teacher. She corrected like a friend. Those gentle corrections made my writing and speaking softer and clearer. Confession: I was terrified of telling her how I felt. English felt like a safe distance and also a risky bridge. I kept thinking about the right sentence, the perfect vocabulary that would sound romantic, but not silly. I rehearsed lines in my head, tried them in the mirror, and even recorded myself. Each rehearsal taught me something. Simple truth matters more than fancy words. The most honest line I finally said was not a perfect phrase. It was a short, trembling sentence. I like you. You make me brave. She looked at me, and for a few seconds the world held its breath. Then she reached out and said in a soft voice, I like you too. Those two small sentences, not perfect English but perfect honesty, changed everything in a gentle way. We had small rituals that made the relationship feel real. Saturday walks with 2 cups of chai, trading songs to listen to at night, and one shared notebook where we both wrote short lines about our day. We used English sometimes and our native language other times. The mix made the relationship rich. Language became a bridge, not a barrier. We learned to laugh at bad grammar and celebrate that we tried. The notebook became a small time capsule of shy thoughts and simple triumphs. There were moments of miscommunication too, because language always brings risk. Once she said she needed space, and I panicked because I thought she wanted distance in the relationship. My mind rushed to worst-case scenarios. Later she explained she meant she needed time to focus on her exams. The word had a narrow meaning in her language and a different weight in mine. That moment taught me to ask clarifying questions. Do you mean a little time to study, or do you mean you want to step back? Simple questions prevent stories that our minds create in the dark. I learned to replace assumptions with curious questions. The relationship taught me how to handle awkward pauses and silences in English. Instead of filling every gap with words, I learned to be calm and present. One evening we sat on the rooftop watching the city lights, neither of us speaking much. I realized language is not only about words, it is about presence. Sometimes a shared silence feels more intimate than a perfect sentence. This lesson helped me grow not only in English, but in how I connected with other people. I also learned some practical habits that improved my English during this time. I kept a small pocket dictionary for quick words and a notebook where I wrote 5 new words each week with a sentence. I read short stories in easy English and underlined phrases I liked. I practiced 1 idiom per week and tried to use it in conversation. These small, steady habits built my vocabulary without feeling heavy. The love I felt gave me the motivation to keep practicing, and practice became a shared activity, not a lonely chore. There were also hard parts. We disagreed about small things, and sometimes the cultural differences made certain topics sensitive. I remember a conversation about family expectations where we realized our families pictured different futures for us. English added a small distance at those times because we both reached for words that felt safe. We learned to slow down, to choose phrases like "I understand" and "tell me more," and to ask open questions that invited longer answers. Over time, we learned to turn disagreement into discussion, to leave space for both voices. Eventually, life asked both of us to make choices. She received an opportunity to study abroad for a year, and I had to decide whether to stay in the city or take a risk with her. That period tested us. We wrote letters in English and our native language, trying to be honest about fear and hope. Long distance taught us new skills, patience, trust, and clearer communication. We scheduled calls and promised small check-ins. Those months stretched me. I learned to speak frankly about hard things, to use simple phrases for complex feelings, and to hold the space for silence when words failed. Not all first love stories end in marriage or forever. Ours moved through seasons. We learned, we loved, and we grew, and then we made adult choices that parted our paths. The ending was painful at first, but it taught a deeper truth. Relationships are lessons as much as they are joys. We left with gratitude for what we had given each other, and with the quiet pride that we had learned important human skills: honesty, listening, courage to try in a language that was new to both of us in its ways, and the ability to let a person go with kindness. After the relationship, my English kept improving because the habits I learned stayed with me. I learned to keep writing, to practice speaking daily, and to approach relationships with the same curiosity I had learned to bring to language. The notebook that she and I kept became my personal treasure. I still open it sometimes and read our short notes, smiling at my younger self, who felt both brave and afraid. Those pages remind me that language and love are messy but beautiful teachers. There are practical takeaways from this story for anyone learning English or falling in love. First, don't be afraid to try. Mistakes are part of the map. They show you where to go next. Second, listen more than you speak. Listening teaches not just words but rhythm and feeling. Third, keep small, consistent habits. 5 new words a week, short voice notes, and a weekly page in a diary. Fourth, ask clarifying questions when meanings feel fuzzy. Fifth, use language as a bridge. Speak simply when you feel big emotions. Honesty beats fancy phrasing every time. If you are nervous about telling someone how you feel in English, start small. Practice one honest sentence you could say: "I like you," or "I enjoy our time together." Use the sentence in low-risk moments, in messages or short voice notes. Notice how saying small truths becomes easier with practice. If you fear being judged for your accent or grammar, remember that sincerity invites kindness. Most people appreciate honesty more than correct grammar. Let me close with a small exercise I used when I felt stuck. Write a short letter in English to the person you care about. Keep it 3 short paragraphs. 1 line to say what you feel, 1 line to share a small memory, and 1 line to say what you hope for next. Use simple words. Send it or keep it as your practice. The structure helps your heart and your language at the same time. My first love story in English taught me more than new words. It taught me to risk, to listen, to laugh at mistakes, and to speak truth in small sentences. It taught me that language grows warm when it carries feeling, and that love does not wait for perfect grammar. If you are learning English and waiting for the right moment, remember, the right moment is built by many brave small tries. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe this video.